Hey guys, it's Jacob, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the 7 basic types of figurative language. Alright, let's get right into it. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is personification. Sorry about that pop-up on the right side of the screen. Shouldn't happen again, and if it does, I'll fix it. Personification is giving something that isn't human, or, like an object, human characteristics. So, giving non-human, well, here, I'll say a non-human. Yeah. Giving a non-human human characteristics. Right, an example of this would be like, the wind called out to me. Because the wind cannot actually call. Can't shout, can't talk. But in that instance, he said it did, which was personification. Or like in a lot of fantasy books, when mice are talking, or like animal characters are talking, that's personification because animals cannot actually communicate in any human dialects or languages. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is hyperbole. It's not hyperbole, it's hyperbole. A huge exaggeration. Yeah, and this one there's tons of examples. Let's see. Gosh, I jumped 1,000 feet into the sky as I dunked the basketball. You didn't actually jump. That person did not actually jump 1,000 feet into the air, but they made a big exaggeration about it. So it's a hyperbole. And it's oftentimes an exaggeration like so massive that it's like funny and like no one would ever believe it. I mean, and so just keep that in mind as well. The next one's gonna be metaphor. Metaphor, a comparison not using like or as. I'm going to make that really big because it gets confused a lot. Not using like or as. Okay, so an example would be if, the class was being super crazy. No, that's not the example, but so here's the context for the example I'm giving. If a teacher's class of pupils or students was just being crazy that day and throwing things, jumping around, you would say the classroom was a jungle gym, or just something like that. Because that it's comparing the classroom to like a jungle gym, and its excitement, and did not use the words like or as. That wasn't a great example, but you get what I mean. Or like the classroom was a zoo, with like how crazy it was. Okay, so now we're going to go on to alliteration. And this is just going to be when like a set of words uses the same sound or letters repeatedly. So, when a set of words, and these are being paraphrased off of Quizlet just so you guys know where I'm getting these from. They can differ a little bit, but for the most part, these definitions are going to be the same across the board no matter who you ask, for the most part. A set of words uses the same sound or letter repeatedly. Alright, so an example would be like, Susie sat sorrowfully, S, S, S. Susie sat sorrowfully. Okay, it's not necessarily always going to be just 3. It can be more than 3 sometimes. Other times it's going to be, less than 3, but I think the general rule is that it has to be 2 or more. Some teachers will say for it to qualify as alliteration, it has to be more than 2, at least 3. Other teachers will tell you it can just be 2, but it has to generally be 2 to 3 to even begin to qualify as alliteration. Okay. Next is simile, which is going to be the opposite of a metaphor. A comparison that does, and I'll put does in all caps because these get confused a lot, does use like or as. So an example would be his face was as hot as so like for a sick person, his forehead was as hot as the sun. So I'm comparing the temperature and feeling of his forehead to the intense heat of the sun using the word as. And sometimes it can be like his temper was well, let's see. When Jim gets mad, his temper erupts like a volcano. I'm comparing how his temper explodes to the intensity of a volcano eruption using the word like. Now, onomatopoeia. This is going to be a funny one, I guess. Onomatopoeia. It's going to be just your sound words. Like wham, like, whoops. Smack. That type of thing. Whoosh. Well, maybe smack not as good. It's like wham, whoosh. Those types of words. You see a lot in you see a lot of onomatopoeia and onomatopoeias in comic books. Because when they've got the one superhero punching the villain, it's like wham, boom, in those jagged boxes. You know what I mean? Like, and then wham type things. So that's how you can remember onomatopoeia. Think back to comic books and these things. Wham, as one guy punches the other, So that's just a fun little trick I use to remember them. Right. Idioms. Now, these are some of the hardest ones. So, a phrase with, that's my with, more than one meaning. Let me try to find you guys a good example. I'm thinking, let's see. Get off my back, for example. That's a good one. Whoops. Not oof my back, off my back. It's not literally asking someone to get off of your back to stop physically touching your back. But it's asking them to stop annoying you or nagging you about something. Stop breathing down, always bothering you and pestering you about it, making sure it's always right. And, yeah. So, if you need to review more, just restart the video, play it again, and pause it when the definitions come, maybe write them down. Again, these were paraphrased from Quizlet, or at least some of them were. And, yeah. Anyway, that should do us off. As I erase these, make sure to like and subscribe. Okay, bye guys.